どうやら貴殿は気づいていないのかな。すでに包囲されていることに。ブラックダーティーバーティーハウリング。
Bartholomew Roberts is a 1-star rider with some fairly potent party buffs, as well as the potential to loop his NP. While he's far from fantastic, he can work quite well as a rare support rider, while also being a decent wave clearer. His first skill, Voyager of the Storm, presumably needs no introduction to anyone who's been playing for any length of time. This skill is shared by quite a few riders, like Blackbeard, Francis Drake, and Columbus. It's a party-wide attack and NP damage buff that lasts for 1 turn, which makes it well suited for burst damage. Surprisingly, Bart actually has it at rank A+, which is the highest rank currently in the game. It provides an impressive 17% buff to both attack and NP damage, which is a pretty nutty amount of burst damage for a 1-star to give access to. The cooldown is a standard 5 turns. His second skill is Pirate Gentleman, which is a unique skill that increases the entire party's critical damage by 40% for 3 turns, while also lowering Bart's own critical star gather rate for 3 turns. While this does make it very unlikely for Bart himself to land crits, it makes it way more likely for everyone else in your party to land critical hits with this skill active. In my opinion, that's great because Bart's attack is really low, so your other party members can make much better use of those critical stars than he could. It's still not quite good enough to make Avengers or Berserkers crit reliably though, and the cooldown of 6 turns does limit it somewhat. His third skill, Swift Pillager, buffs his own quick performance by 20% for 3 turns, while also lowering the enemy's critical attack chance by 20% for 3 turns. On top of that, it immediately drops 20 critical stars for your team to make use of, which has great synergy with Pirate Gentleman. It's got 5 turns of cooldown, not bad for all those effects. His noble phantasm, Black Dirty Barty Howling, however, is pretty unimpressive. It's an AoE quick NP, and it hits 6 times per enemy, so it does drop a fair amount of critical stars. That, alongside its 20% defense reduction, are its best features. Its only unique feature is that it deals bonus damage to low rarity enemies, meaning bronze rarity enemies. This bonus damage increases based on overcharge, and to its credit, it is a unique multiplier. This bonus damage can occasionally help him clear waves more easily, but it's a pretty specific niche and not very reliable. Now, to his credit, he can actually loop his NP, but he's really not very good at it. For example, even with a max limit broken Kaleidoscope, double Scotty, and Waver, he still can't loop effectively against Berserkers. Plus, even if you do manage to trigger his bonus effect, his damage isn't all that impressive. Here's Alexander for comparison. While you can use Bart as a damage dealer, I would personally recommend primarily using him as a supporter. Since his attack is so low, and because Pirate Gentleman lowers his C-star gather rate so much, I think it's the obvious choice for him. You can use Swift Pillager and his Noble Phantasm to drop stars for your party, and then use Pirate Gentleman and Voyager of the Storm to help increase their damage output. If used as a supporter, Bart is very versatile, but he works best in teams focused on critical hits. I'd personally pair him up with another buffer and a main damage dealer, as Bart himself does not provide any sort of healing or survival skills. If you insist on having him be a main damage dealer, you should focus on giving him quick or crit support. Scotty is the obvious choice here, but characters like Hans or Waver are also good choices. For craft essences, I'd highly recommend something that either gives stars per turn, like 2030, or gives him easier access to his NP, like Kaleidoscope. As a matter of fact, you can do both at once by giving him his rightful place. Don't worry too much about his low damage output. It's going to be bad no matter what you do, so just accept it and don't bother trying to fix it. Like I said, I'd highly recommend using him as a supporter, not a damage dealer. As for command codes, I'd recommend giving him stuff that benefits the rest of the party, like having Crest of the Stone Bird on his Buster card. He definitely doesn't need any of them though, and I certainly wouldn't recommend spending any of your high rarity ones on him unless you really like him. Bartholomew Roberts has a lot of competition, as there are plenty of other budget riders you can invest in, but I personally feel that his potent party buffs and ability to give stars make him a very viable option. If you're looking for more budget support options, he's a great choice, but he's definitely not in the same tier as someone like Hans or Chen Gong.
ようこそ同胞、ようこそマスター。さあ、何でも言ってくれ。私の命は君のもの。 君の命は私のもの。そういう契約さ。